Assalamualaikum family, it's your brother Landon X. This is Right Down to the Modern Times, brought to you by NationTownTV.com. You already know. Dear family, we're going to jump right into it on my way to our study group class for tonight, but I had to touch on this particular issue very quickly. I want to shout out to all of the NationTown TV family that are viewing live via not only YouTube, but also the Facebook family. We are multi-streaming. Dear family, I hope we all have a clear stream of today's quick show. As always, I just want to touch on this. I want to, stick and move, but this is a heavy topic that we're dealing with. As you saw the image and as you see right there, many of us heard this week of the very, very unfortunate incident that took place at this restaurant in the city of Chicago. But before we get into that, allow me to open up in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who mercifully intervened in our affairs in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad 93 years ago, almost to the day, July 4th, 1930, made himself known. And he made himself known looking for his people, but one particular person in, to be exact, I should say, speaking of none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, our divine brother, our teacher. I'm talking about the we but knew, our beloved brother, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is at minimum the messenger of Allah, but in fact the exalted Christ, as far as I'm concerned and we're concerned in the Nation of Islam. But the truth of the matter is, dear family, I would know nothing of Master Fard Muhammad, and I would know nothing of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad if it was not for the divine love and the guidance and the brotherhood of our beloved brother, who is like a torchlight in this dark hour. I'm speaking of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in those three great and beautiful names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to all of the Nation Town family chiming in. We see you. All praises due to Allah. Hit us up with your questions and comments while we still on. We might be on for a strong 30 minutes or some change, but I just want to deal with this topic. I want to jump into it and jump out. But it's a very interesting topic for a very particular reason, dear family. And again, this is, of course, right down to the modern times, brought to you by NationTownStore.com. Make sure you hit us up at NationTownStore.com and shop, not until you drop, but shop until our people rise. But listen, this particular issue, it's similar to what we talked about last time with the submersible, the Titanic submarine thing. It's similar in the sense that immediately the internet had jokes. And for those who are not aware of this situation, what you see is a still picture. I didn't want to replay the video that is circulating for two reasons. Not only the fatal gunshot, but also the fact that he was putting hands on this sister. He was assaulting this sister. Apparently, they had an argument at this hole in the wall spot, I believe on the south side of Chicago on Halsted. And you know how it gets. And I'm going to touch on this before we get out of here. How it gets with us in these public places, particularly these fast food spots. And it's not a coincidence. But in these situations, we don't know how to deal with each other. We don't know how to deal with ourselves. So, you know, tensions are running high off top. We walk into these establishments already tense, already stressed out for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is just the fact that we're black in America. But then the whole thing is exacerbated by some other elements that I'm going to touch on in a moment. But in this particular situation, this brother and this sister, they got into it. I don't believe they knew each other prior to this moment. The brother constantly told the sister, the video that's circulating, it starts off with the brother telling the sister, you know, leave me alone, you know, don't say another word. And then at that point, you know, that's where he attacks the sister. And then at that point, a gunshot is heard. And with that gunshot, that's the gunshot that actually took out the brother. It turns out that it was the sister's son, 14-year-old son, who pulled the trigger in defense of his mother. Now, a lot of people have found that to be very commendable. There have been celebrities like Nicki Minaj who have, you know, chimed in via social media saying that she'll pay for the young brother's college tuition if he intends to go to college, you know, because of how they see it as commendable. Me personally, I definitely see some merit in what the brother did for his mother. I mean, man, if I was in his shoes and I had a piece on me, and if I didn't know some of the things I know now, hey man, and even with what I do know now, hey man, we fight with those that fight with us. And you don't stand around and watch a grown man put his hands on a woman. And this is and there's no justification for putting your hands on a woman, only if you're doing it just to get her off of you so you can get away from the situation. That's the only time that is justified in my humble estimation, my humble opinion. But in this particular situation, this brother found himself in this argument, but he took it to a physical situation. I got the feeling that had he not taken it physically, it just would have been a bunch of running off at the mouth. They both would have went home with their hot dogs or whatever it is, their tacos or whatever they sell at that spot. It looks like your typical hood, you know, spot with the bulletproof glass. You know, they don't trust you enough, and they don't feel safe enough around us to deal with us hand to hand, face to face, like we're human beings. But instead they put this big wall up, and then they serve us this trash food, and they definitely take our money, but they don't feel safe enough to actually deal with us like human beings. And some people might say, well, I understand, I know how the hood is. Oh, okay, well, you know, yeah, to me, if you're scared, go to church. If you that scared of us, then maybe you shouldn't be in our community selling us anything to begin with. Just keeping it a buck. But bottom line is the brother was murdered. Shout out to Brother Ace. He says I'm cutting out. Uh, well, brother, I don't see any issues on my end. Hopefully we can get everything in order. If not, when I'm done with the broadcast, you can go back and watch it. But in this situation, the brother was murdered, of course, and there's been a lot of talk about it. Most of what I've seen, people have been in support of her son, who uh, who killed the brother. And then the big news a couple of days ago is the situation where charges were dropped against the little brother, which I was happy to hear. Charges were dropped against the sister as well. She was also charged with delinquency of a minor. I'm not sure if they pulled those charges. More than likely, those charges stuck with the delinquency of the minor. But anyway, here's what makes this interesting to me. And this is the reason why you see it on NationTown. As you know, NationTown TV, we don't ambulance chase. We don't deal with it. We don't jump on the topic just because everybody is talking about it. You know, my time is limited. Your time is limited. So I touch on topics when there's this particular aspect of it that I feel like needs to be pointed out. And you know, this ain't Brother Landon TV. This ain't no. This is NationTown TV. So you know, I'm going to take it to a nation perspective. Now, here's what I find interesting mostly about this story is that everything about this story is it's almost like a cautionary tale of the circumstances and the consequences when we reject or we fail to promote the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to say that again. These are the consequences. This story represents the consequences of when our people reject the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad that are offered to them, and when we, those who know the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad or are studying the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, fail to get out there and offer it. If it's never offered to them, you know, Master Father Muhammad is merciful. God is merciful to anybody who's never been told. How can they know unless they have a teacher? How can they have a teacher unless they be sent? If we're not out there in the community doing the work, then we can't say, okay, they should have knew this, they should have knew that, they shouldn't have did this, they shouldn't have did that. That's not fair to them. It's not fair to anybody that's in that position. You got to get out with our people. You got to touch them. You got to see them. They're real. You can't have no glass in between you and them the same way as it was at that restaurant. You got to go out there and see them. You have to be courageous. You got to go in neighborhoods that most people don't even feel safe with guns walking in, and you got to go to these people and our people, not these people, our people, and show them love and have each other's back in the process. Those pictures that I just showed you, that's here in South Central Los Angeles. That's in a community called Westmont, which was just determined by a news outlet to be the most dangerous community in the state of California, in South Central Los Angeles, called Westmont. That's what they call it. It's just South Central. It's particularly in the Hoover neighborhood, roughly. But here's my thing. Like I said, everything about this story, it breaks down to the consequences of not following or properly promoting and propagating the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, we're taught in the nation, you know, about the duty of the civilized. And we have to we risk our life not going out and propagating this. But what do I mean how it touches almost every major aspect of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad? Let's start from the thing that jumps out quickest and most, you know, that jumps out the clearest in this story, unfortunately. First of all, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the 1980s began to release a collection of what we call study guides. And I believe the study guides are coming up on 22. But the 18th of those study guides is titled Rising Above Emotion into the Thinking of God. Here's the thing about emotion dear family, especially in terms of men. I got to talk to my brothers for a minute. Not only is the lack of control of our emotions the opposite of God level thinking, but it's also not very masculine at all. And this brother, if you watch the video, you can tell just by the clip, the still shot that you see right here. The brother was just irate. Now, I gotta be fair. I don't know what happened before the video that's being circulated. It's really, I've only seen one, angle of the video. I don't know what was said, but I know it was nothing that constituted him being the aggressor the way that he was. And there was nothing that constituted him being that damn upset about some trash food, some hot dogs. I mean, we talking about hot dogs? Listen, dear family, I gotta looking for a copy of a book real quick. I don't seem to see it at this point, but I gotta say, you know, oh man. First of all, you got the rising above emotion into the thinking of God. Let's see what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I kind of gave you a teaser on this when we were coming on, but I want to show this to y'all. Listen to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says as far as the value of being able to rise above emotion into the thinking of God. This is just the first aspect of the teachings that this incident really represented. The minister says the improper handling of emotion does not allow us to grow beyond self. It makes our reasoning subjective and it clouds our judgment of individuals, circumstances, and events. It makes us judge individuals, circumstances, and events by how we are affected, personally. Thus, we never see the bigger picture, like living to see the next day or remaining a free citizen and not being incarcerated. Improper handling of emotion makes us judge selfishly. Our great test today will be whether we can rise above emotion to begin to think and act more like Allah, God. We are in His classroom. What kind of test has He devised to see if we are ready to think and act on a higher level? This is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Self-Improvement Study Guide number 18, Rising Above Emotion into the Thinking of God. Now, that's just the first aspect of the teachers that jumped out at me when I first heard this story. Because all parties involved, in my humble opinion, they failed the rising above emotion to a certain degree. I cannot speak against the 14-year-old brother that did what he did. I can't. I've personally been in a similar situation, I'm not going to get into, but I've been in that where my mother was being aggressed upon. And I had no choice but to act. I didn't have a gun on me, but the way I acted, it diffused the situation. I was maybe 15 years old. So I can't be mad at the brother. I just can't. But all parties involved could have handled it better. What's the next thing? What's the next thing in the teachings that could have quelled this entire situation? First of all, make sure y'all like and subscribe. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. Share this if you're on NationTown TV on Facebook. Get this out there. Share it. Share it. Share it. Also YouTube. Get it out there. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Subscribe and follow NationTown TV on Facebook as well. The next thing, it reminds me of a point in what we call the Muslim program. Nation of Islam, as you know, we have the number one news not controlled by the Jews, the Final Call newspaper. The number one independent black news publication in the world, hands down. But we also participate in something in journalism called full disclosure and transparency. So in every issue of the Final Call newspaper, and even in the Muhammad speech that preceded it prior to 1975, at the back of it, we have the Muslim program, which are 10 points of what the Muslims want and 12 points of what the Muslims believe. You often hear the believers in the Nation of Islam speak of the point number 12 of what the Muslims believe. That's a very popular thing because it breaks down the foundation of our theology. But there's a point that comes before point number 12 that I don't think, as Muslims and believers, we talk enough about. And I don't think our people who read the Final Call and are familiar with the Final Call, or just our community in general, don't really talk about this particular point enough. And that is a particular point that I'm going to touch on right now. I want to make sure we got it up here, because this is a heavy point, beloved. This is point number 11. You see point number 12 in bold, and it should be in bold, because once we master point number 12, every other point can be made manifest. But let's not sleep on point number 11 sitting right on top of it. We believe our women should be respected and protected as the women of other nations are respected and protected. See, this is why, dear family, I can't be mad at that 14-year-old brother. Because that's what's going to happen to you in any other community. You know, if you pull up in Beverly Hills and just start wailing on some Kim Kardashian looking chick or any female, somebody's going to handle you. Somebody. It may even be the police. But we already know, y'all remember that old Public Enemy song, 911 is a joke. We can't rely, and we shouldn't rely on the police in our communities. And what really bothered me about the video is that I only seen or heard maybe one other woman. It was about 7 to 8 individuals who seen packed into that little, vestibule. We got those types of restaurants all through the hood. We see them all the time. But one thing that bothered me about it is that I saw many other men. You got a couple of men behind that big thick glass, the cooks. You see that there are men there. That was an older man. So don't y'all listen. I don't want to make this about age, but y'all can miss me with the whole, oh, we back in our day we did. No, it was an older man who didn't want no smoke. He started backing out as soon as that brother started raising his voice. He probably felt like, I'm too old to do something. Listen, man. What better way to die than to die respecting and protecting the black woman? That's just manhood right there. We've been told these days that manhood is carrying a gun, manhood is talking a certain way, manhood is dressing a certain way. No, no, and no. We've not only lost the cosmetic understanding of manhood. If you watch the BET Awards, you know what I'm talking about. We've lost how to dress and how to so-called act like a man. But we also have lost the real fundamental aspects of manhood. Like not sitting there on your shoulders watching a woman get manhandled by a man. Bruh, fight me. Whoop my ass. But you ain't about to just sit here in front of me and knock this sister out. And she ain't even laid a hand on you. So that's the thing that really bothered me about that. But point number 11 jumped out. It jumped out at me. Now, Another aspect of the teachings, and we're going to close out on this, dear family. Another aspect of the teachings that I noticed is what I kind of touched on earlier. When you look at the fact that they're at this typical hood, hole in the wall restaurant, these types of spots, I gotta admit, these kind of spots do have some bomb food sometimes. Sometimes the raggedier it looks, the better the food is. Hey, I've been in the hood my whole life by choice. And, I gotta bear witness to that. But these are usually the kind of businesses that don't employ us. If you look at the picture, if you look in the background, I don't see a brother back there cooking. They don't employ us. They're not owned by us, and they care nothing about our health. They care nothing about our safety. They're just there to transfer money from our community to whatever community they come from. And I'm not even mad at them. If we allowing them to do it, I can't even get mad at them. I just can't. But that's another aspect of our teachers. Do for self. Spend your money with your own people. But the last and the most important aspect of this deals with a teaching in the Nation of Islam called How to Eat to Live. Now, some of y'all might be like, oh, brother, come on, man. Brother just want to. But hold on. See, it all connects if you think about it. One of the most widespread ailments in the black so-called community since slavery here in the hills of North America has been something called hypertension and other cardiovascular, diseases and issues. Hypertension. Guess what, family? Hypertension is almost exclusively caused by the kind of food that this restaurant sells. And this is, the so-called ghettos in America are what they call food deserts. And we shouldn't sit around blaming anybody else for that. That's our fault. Because I guarantee you, if we stop buying that BS, they wouldn't keep feeding it to us. If we went into our substandard grocery stores that also exist in our communities and we ate specifically healthier foods, that grocery store, just out of a business mentality, would start to order more and healthier foods. And then the statistics behind that would also inspire other investors to bring healthier choices to that community by way of restaurants and likewise. But I want to bring you some actual facts, and we're going to get up out of here because I got to get prepared for our study group tonight. The hypertension is really what led to this situation on both sides. These are two individuals that they're arguing about some damn hot dogs as if it was World War III. That's hypertension, 100%. This is a greasy spoon, fast food, trash food, hood hot dog stand. But I want to hit you with some actual facts, and we're going to get up out of here because we're going to find out what are the types of foods that cause hypertension. Hypertension causes you to make a mountain out of a molehill. Hypertension makes you think, you know what? I feel so disrespected by you cutting in line in front of me or not getting your food quick enough or taking too long to pay for your food. I feel so disrespected and I'm going to knock you out. And then somebody else feels so disrespected that they're going to pull the trigger of a gun. That's hypertension. I don't care what nobody say. And I guarantee you they didn't just discover this restaurant and they don't just eat this kind of food just on Tuesdays. No. This is what they got flowing through their veins. Let's look at what hypertension is and what it causes. Let's break this down. Let's get scientific real quick and we up out of here, family. First of all, these are the foods that cause hypertension. And tell me if this is not the kind of food that you find at spots like this. Table salt, certain condiments and sauces. If you're trying to follow a low sodium diet, this seems like an obvious one. I'm not going to read all of this, but it speaks for itself. When replacing table salt, do not fall into the trap of substituting certain condiments. How do we act when we go into these restaurants? I want 9 packs of Harold's sauce. I want 10 packs of hot sauce. I want mayonnaise. Where's my extra hot sauce? Where's my, okay, let's keep going. Not only that, foods with saturated and trans fat. I mean, that's fast food to a T. Fast food to a T. Reduce or eliminate red meat consumption. I mean, come on now. Fried food. Hello, somebody. Almost all of these spots sell fried food. Fast food. Come on now. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Canned, frozen, and processed food. Almost everything on the menu at all of these fast food joints, even some of these so-called soul food spots. But even that's healthier than a little hot dog joint or a little hamburger joint. These all cause hypertension. Deli meats and cured meats, salted snacks. There go that salt again. Now, number 9 is the only thing that How to Eat to Live does not go against. Now, coffee, which is the best form of caffeine, is not something that is prohibited or spoken ill of in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But when you find it in things like, when you find processed versions like energy drinks, fake sugar, soda and things like that, it can be dangerous. Alcohol, come on now. Now, everything I'm putting on here, I know if you're thinking and you're being honest, this is something that we all consume. Our people consume way too much of. Number 11, soda. That's the big one. And I'm gonna tell y'all that everybody out there that eats at these places, and I mean all of them. Don't just think if you eat at a place that's in a so-called white neighborhood. Some of you are foolish enough to call it good neighborhoods. That if you go to a fast food place there, the food is somehow healthier. The lie detector test determined that's a lie. I had a job when I was younger where I cleaned those CO2 machines, the spouts where you get the soda from. If you saw the inside of those spigots, the inside of the nozzle where the fluid comes out of, I guarantee you would never eat at a place like that or drink from a place like that ever again. But this all causes hypertension, and this is the diet of the Negro in the hills of North America. And if we had less of that pumping through our veins, we would be slower to anger, slower to put our hands on anybody, slower to kill anybody. We in a perfect storm of foolishness and transgression in the black community. And we're going to keep seeing incidents like this as long as we keep rejecting the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and also those of us who know better fail to get out in our community and propagate the truth. Dear family, I'm going to leave you all as I greeted you in the words of peace. We're going to get up out of here. I hope we didn't have too many technical difficulties. You were able to view this. If not, you'll be able to see it in its entirety once it uploads after we finish going live. Shout out to everybody that chimed in. But also show us some love. $ Nation Town. Support the cause. Listen, family, it's time for us to have a Nation Town store, smart store, brick and mortar. That's in the works. We focused on it. But hey, man, show us some love. Show us some support on Cash App. $ Nation Town. Show us some love. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit us up on NationTownStore.com. Listen. For a limited time, you can go on NationTownStore.com, get as much stuff as you want, and listen, you can actually pay for it in installments. You don't even have to pay for it all up front. And there's no interest, there's no credit check, all through a service called Afterpay, which is available on NationTownStore.com. So you can go get $100 worth of stuff, and you'll get it as soon as you order it. You won't have to wait. It ain't layaway. You'll get it as soon as you order it. It'll just break down the fee in about 4 payments. And, there's no extra fee to it. You're not going to be paying more money for the products. You're not going to pay any interest. We don't believe in usury in the Nation of Islam. Otherwise, we would not have that service. So go ahead and show love to NationTownStore.com. Toothpaste, soap, the world famous bean pie, other personal care products. Are you still shopping at Walgreens when you know your brothers have what you need? That's sellout territory. Sellout territory. I ain't gonna go there today. Well, I already did. But with that said, family, I thank y'all for listening. We'll be back Friday. But again, continue. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell so that way you're notified whenever we go live. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook. Again, I'm gonna leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. But before we get up out of there, those of you in the Los Angeles area, your brother is teaching again this Sunday at our Muhammad Mosque number 27 meeting. I'm going to deal with part 2 of the series, Knowledge of the Enemy, which is one of the 3 fundamental aspects of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we may touch on this topic even further. So if you're in the LA area this Sunday, come through 8039 South Vermont, Los Angeles, California, 90044. Knowledge of the Enemy, part 2. By popular demand, man, we gonna close it out. We're gonna do it up big before our regional minister, Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, mounts the rostrum again. Again, it's your brother. And I'm gonna leave you as I greeted you for real this time in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of As-salamu alaykum.